Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor
and his friend Jake
gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and for the latest updates, information, and picks, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides, and you can follow my friend Jake on Twitter at myfriend_Jake. This Major League Baseball episode covers every game scheduled to be played on Thursday, September 8th, 2022. In case you're new here, I've built a mathematical model for win probability using hitter and pitcher projections I've created. Also, total projections using weather data. I make one money line or run line pick on every game that's played 7 days a week, though there are no Sunday shows. That doesn't mean that I recommend you the same. As our goal in this episode is to share key information about today's games, give you a few things to think on, and explain why certain plays are being recommended in order for you to come up with picks that you are comfortable with. I never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with us or against us before investing your hard-earned money. And as I go through the plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling. So what I'll give you are loves, likes, and leans to indicate my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. And as always, please remember that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to still be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. This week been up and down. Bad Monday, good Tuesday, bad Wednesday. We had some of that in the early season, just kind of like up and down, up and down, up and down. For the most part, been mostly up here. Like I said, at least lately, mostly we've been down. We've gotten right back up and done really well after that. So hopefully that's the case here. Yeah, knock on wood. Yeah, we're with some wood around. Yeah. For the last 5 weeks, 20 weeks, we have some work to do to keep that going this week. Hopefully we can get off this roller coaster and just get back to like win, break even, win, break even. That's much more fun than win, lose, right?
Yeah. You want the graph to kind of do this number, not this one.
Yeah. And so it's been more fun when it's been going up the last month or two than this week just being the roller coaster. A lot of one-run games in baseball today, and we were on the right side of a few of them here, and then not on the right side of a few of them. That's just kind of the way it goes. When there's a lot of one-run games, everything just starts going crazy, right?
I think one of the last times I was on here, we came off a weekend that had a bunch of one-run games
of them, yeah.
That didn't bounce our way.
Yeah. It's just like I said, the more one-run games there are, the more you're just kind of like, it can either go really well, really bad, or right in the middle, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But before we get to today's game, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you're on yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and the only way, assuming you turn notifications on, to ensure you don't miss any college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Share with the affinity to others in the game. Hit us up on Twitter or drop a comment if you're on YouTube. We love those and try to respond to as many as we can. Also, go check out Horse Racing Today if you're interested in horse race betting. You can find their stuff at horseracingtoday.net. They've got a team of 5 with over 125 years of combined experience in handicapping horse races. If there's an angle they don't know or bias they can't identify, you can check out their YouTube shows or the website. The links are in the description. And just that last reminder, we've started that Patreon page for those of you who want to support the show. Membership starts at just $3 per month. Benefits include various things such as exclusive access to our Discord. Me and the co-host talk about plays, line movements, all sorts of interesting sports betting stuff. We've got ad-free shows, early access to shows, and early access to model projections if you're interested in grabbing some of those mispriced openers. Lots of options there for you. We always appreciate any support that people provide. A lighter slate today here on a Thursday. I feel like sometimes these Monday, Thursdays sometimes have 10 or 12 games, and sometimes they're like 7,
Well, I mean, I guess they're saving them all up for the weekend, get the most odds as possible. But you would think with college football, like in the NFL starting, man, they would put more of the games in the middle of the week, get more of those eyes. But
yeah, I think a lot of it's about attendance, more about in person rather than TV stuff, right? Especially with baseball, it's interesting. I don't want to derail us too much, but with it's baseball, it's interesting with the TV contracts. There's so much guaranteed money as long as the game's air, and it's they don't even care as much about how many eyeballs go on it. So they schedule out for trying to get people to come, which is it's just interesting dynamic, a different dynamic than football for sure. Starting us off here, we got some afternoon games, 1:15 Eastern, first pitch, Nats at the Cardinals. Cardinals losing the first game of the series, winning the second one handily, winning the third game, but not covering on the run line, winning just by 1 here for the Thursday afternoon game. We should start off, again, weather projections a little bit more tentative here night before. We'll know a whole lot more in the morning, but as of right now, looks like winds blowing in around 5 miles an hour, mid 70s to start, around 80 degrees to close. Josiah Gray versus Adam Wainwright. Josiah Gray 4.91 ERA. Underlying metrics say that's pretty spot on. Wainwright 3.21 ERA. Underlying metrics say it should be a little bit higher than that by about a half run. But either way, Wainwright's still a much better pitcher. The underlying metrics would agree with that. I think our eyeballs would agree with that. Cardinals get the edge everywhere again. Doesn't mean they'll win. Doesn't mean they'll cover the run line. But I'm going to be back on them with the run line at minus 140. It's only a B grade play. Minus 140 for a home run line is just a little steep unless it's like, Max Scherzer versus, I don't want to pick on the worst pitchers, but a bullpen game for the Giants. How about that? It's just kind of steep. So it's a B grade play for me. On the money line, the model says Cardinals minus 299, about a 75% chance of winning. And so right now the money line price of minus 275 would offer some value, whether you go money line or run line. Either one I think is a smart investment, just all about personal preference and how you want to play things. Here I think the run line probably makes a little bit more sense because those odds are just so steep. We've seen that, again, this third game of the series aside, it's been generally better to save yourself the odds on these type plays with the bigger favorites. Total of 8, and the model projects 7. So the model would project an under, and this one doesn't think the Nats can really score off of Wainwright. Again, that slight breeze blowing in a pretty pitcher-friendly park when it's not in the 90s in St. Louis. So again, model thinks a low-scoring game there. One of the bigger model edges on totals of the day, of course, not as many games. But again, model thinks low-scoring game. Nats don't score much. Cardinals win handily. So B grade pick for me on the Cardinals run line. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm all over the Cardinals. This is probably my favorite play of the day. I'm doing the Cardinals run line. I'm probably even going to sprinkle a little bit. I mean, I know we're way early here, so we don't know about the lineups, but sprinkle a little bit on Pujols to hit a home run. Just it's
just for fun.
Happen.
Yeah.
But I like Wainwright. He's pitching great. The Cardinals are just a much, much better team than the Nationals. Lord, I don't know if you can put those two are playing the same sport at sometimes. But I think the Cardinals run away with this one fairly easy. I don't see a way in the Nats really grab this one.
Yep. I tend to agree with that. 2:20 Eastern, first pitch, Reds at the Cubs. Around 80 degrees for the entirety of this game. Winds blowing kind of in, kind of across from right field, around 5 miles an hour. No total out for this one because they want to wait until the morning to get a better idea of the weather. That's why I'm always talking about the weather. If we're off a little bit on the weather, in St. Louis, it matters less than in Wrigley. Wrigley, it matters on that wind. If it's in or across, and right now it looks like it kind of could be either one, and that really matters for projecting a total. So this is – anytime you see something like this where the books haven't put a total up, but I'm projecting one, know that my number might change a lot too, and it's all based on the weather. Who knows exactly how accurate this forecast will be, but, it's a 2:20 Eastern game, and I'm projecting this the night before. So by the time we get to the morning, we've cut down 80% of the time between now and then, so I have a much better idea of what the weather will look like. But if it is blowing in a little bit, that'll keep the total down because the wind matters a whole lot in Wrigley. So normally a 5-mile-an-hour wind does very little for us, but at Wrigley, a 5-mile-an-hour wind blowing in does actually help the pitchers because there's no grandstands there to block it. It actually does have that true effect. It'll be Luis Sessa versus Adrian Sampson. Sessa has a 5.18 ERA. Underlying metrics say maybe not quite that bad, but definitely not a good pitcher. Sampson, a guy I talked about a lot. Great season, 3.95 ERA, and the underlying metrics say that's pretty spot on. Model's still holding out a little bit because of previous bad seasons, but again, I like him. He's looked pretty solid. It seems like he's whatever he's doing this year versus last couple of years is working for him. And neither set of relievers very good. Neither offense is very good. I guess give the Cubs a little bit of an edge on offense, but it didn't work out for him here on Wednesday. I'll be back on the Cubs, though, here to finish out this series on a Thursday afternoon. Model says Cubs minus 151. I'm on the Cubs minus 136. It's an A-grade play, and it's about as high as I want to go with an A-grade. I was really hoping for 135 was kind of the number I had in my head. I figured if I had 135 in my head, I might as well do 136 as an A-grade. But as with anything, when I talk about these grades, there's no real cut point where it just drops from A to a B. It's A minus and B plus sort of stuff. At some point, a lot depends on what number you're looking at anyway, and it's all shades, right? So A-grade play on the Cubs, about as high as I want to go. I think there's value on the Cubs at this number. Again, model thinks it should be more like minus 150. Model projects 8.1. Again, highly variable on the weather and no total out on that. But A-grade play for me on the Cubs. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I like the Cubs in this spot. Sampson seems to be throwing pretty well. Not not a big fan of Sessa.
Yeah.
I think there's a few more bats in that Cubs lineup than the Reds. So I think everything leans that way, and I think the bullpens are pretty much a wash. I'm not sure where you have them in the ratings, but I think it's splitting hairs between the two.
Yeah, it's probably right. I have the Reds as bad and the Cubs as worse, but it's not. I mean, it's usually I say with the Cubs, if you're backing them, and we backed them on the run line, backed them on the money line a few times here the last month or two, and it's mostly worked for us. Not always, but mostly. But we've mostly like the Cubs. They've been pretty undervalued, I think. But with the Cubs, it always feels like get ahead early and then hang on for dear life. And I think that's kind of the same thing here. Benefit is that the Reds bullpen's not very good either. So it's like, it's not quite as much like if you're going up against a team with a good bullpen, it's like, you're going to be outscored at the end. So you better get up by 3, here it's kind of like, even if they're only up by 1, like they'll give up some, the Reds will give up some. Yeah.
Keeps you watching all day. It keeps you in the stadium.
That's one way to look at it.
Sell some more hot dogs and beer. It is a well thought out, well-oiled machine there in Chicago.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, GM being like, hey, working with the owner, worst, good offense, bad bullpen, longer games, more beer sales, right?
We're out of the playoffs. Let's just get this money while we can.
Hey,
how I choose to look at it.
Yeah, there you go.
All that said, I'm on the Cubs. I think the starting pitcher edge is big enough for them to win this one. And maybe not have it so questionable.
Yep, I agree. Like I said, Samson's been throwing the ball really well, and the model's still not too high on him. But this year, he keeps looking good, and it's a new year and good things for him versus some previous struggles. But he really seems like he's turned a corner. So I'm very comfortable backing Adrian Sampson. A sentence I did not think I would say a year ago, but here we are. One other afternoon game, this one in the late afternoon, game 1 of a doubleheader between the Giants and the Brewers. I'm projecting here that they will keep the roof open. It looks like a nice day there. A little bit warmer for the first game in Milwaukee. Not too much, though. Low 80s to start, upper 70s to close. Maybe a little bit of a boost to the bats, but not by too much. Models projecting a total of 8.3 and a Brewers line of -181. It'll be Corbin Burns versus Scott Alexander, but Jacob Junis is expected to get the bulk of the work, so I've plugged him into the model. If that changes and it looks like it'll be more of a true bullpen game, then this would get worse. Junis projects to be fairly league average, can eat up some innings, not a ton. And like we talked about before, that's the problem when he started, has been he's not a guy that you really feel like can go 6-7 innings. That's not even really on the table. He's kind of best used going 4 or 5, and if things go bad, it's more like 3. As having an opener in front of him, I don't know if Alexander's going to go, 1 or 2. You never quite know with the openers, but maybe that eats up some innings. Junis can eat some up. That's average. Again, I project this to go better for the Giants with Junis eating some innings rather than a true bullpen game. We'll get to game 2, which is what it sounds like a true bullpen game. But true bullpen game, the model does not like them whatsoever. They just don't have a lot of good arms, and it's hard to find that many innings. In general, I think it's going to be a long day for the Giants. You got to get through, 16 innings, maybe 17, maybe 18, maybe more if there's extras. But, minimum, you got to get through 16. You lose both of them, so you hope for more than 16 if you're a Giants fan. But that's a lot of innings from relievers that aren't very good, especially coming off of a travel day, traveling halfway across the country. I don't think it's going to go well for the Giants. Model says Brewers -181. Obviously, Corbin Burns is really good. Taking a step back a little bit lately, but still a great pitcher. I'm not going to overreact to that. I don't think he's washed up or anything. It's just I think he's kind of fallen from that second tier to the third tier, but still, again, a really good pitcher. This should be massive edge Brewers. Just it's all about the price, right? We always talk about buy points on teams. That's kind of what I want to talk about here. Ignoring the run line and Brewers run line would probably be the way to go to back them rather than laying big odds. But model says -181. So for me, I'm hoping for like -170 on the Brewers. If I was going to be on the Giants, I'd really like +200. Going against Corbin Burns, though, I don't really think I'd feel that comfortable with the Giants unless I was getting odds like in that +200 range. Obviously, we'll see what the price is tomorrow in the morning, and we'll update that. But what are your thoughts on this one, Jake?
Yeah, this seems like a terrible run for the Giants here, having 2 bullpen games on a doubleheader day. That's one of them might be close, and if one of them is close, it'll be the first one. And then in the second one, you're going to end up with just really bad guys throwing innings. And I mean, the Brewers' offense that kind of hit or miss should be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've probably got you've got Burns and Peralta going, I think.
Yep.
So I just think those two will kind of dominate. It's going to be a good day for the Brewers. I'm probably going run line either way. I mean, obviously price matters and all that, but just guessing, I'm probably looking run line on both games, and
Okay.
I think I'll clear both of them. But I'll tweet it out if we end up doing it, as long as the price matches.
My only, and I'm with you there, my only concern about this one, the Brewers losing these 2 games in Colorado, the way they lost on Tuesday, then not even being, having a whatever it was, 4-1 lead, 5-run lead or whatever, not even being competitive on Wednesday's day game. That's my only fear with the Brewers. I'm with you though in general. I mean, the pitching matchup massively favors the Brewers. Both offenses are pretty solid. I mean, neither one's great, but both are okay. But I mean, the pitching matchup's all Brewers, but you have to be a little bit concerned about, we're to that point of the year where the Brewers may be looking at the standings, kind of realizing it's over, realizing that those 2 losses to the Rockies were games they really needed to win if they had any chance. That's kind of the only fear I have. Do the bats fall asleep? Is Burns a little bit not motivated, saying like, hey, I only have so many more starts now. I don't have to worry about a postseason, or does he go the other direction, say, I don't have to worry about it, so I'm going to go throw as hard as I can. I feel like it can go a lot of different ways,
You think those 2 knocked them out of the playoffs?
I don't know about knocked them out as much as their odds were already not very good. And then it's more about those were 2 games that you wanted to win.
Kind of deal.
Say what?
The death knell, you think that was the last one there?
Potentially. I'm less of a believer in that, more just about when you have winnable games against a bad team, you really want to take advantage because you have games later that are tougher, and it's when you're giving away the games that you have a 60% chance of winning or whatever, especially when you have in game, the win probability in game for Tuesday should have been 99% or whatever, 98%, 97, whatever.
That really caught me off guard. I was like,
yeah,
I was kind of keeping up with that one, and I was just like, oh,
yeah,
just kept getting worse. But I mean, I don't know. I still tend to think they're a much better team, and it's a bad situation. And I mean, a lot of those guys are still playing, like at least from the offensive, are playing for stats.
Still playing for jobs, and
playing for jobs and stuff. So I think offensively they're okay enough. I mean, Burns might not go deep. They might start curtailing some of those innings to help them from next year if the playoffs are really done. But I still think they're on the outside edge here and get a shot. Because I don't know. I don't really believe in the Padres right now.
Let's say it's the Padres and the Phillies are right there, and those are the 2 teams that they got to catch one of them. I mean, you hope that doesn't carry over for the Brewers, that they can come out and give it their all here, because it is only 4 games, and if you're gonna, if you think you can make a run, you got to beat the Giants at home, right?
Yeah.
Especially
you gotta win at home for sure.
You got to win at home against a very mediocre Giants team who's double. It's not like you're going against Webb or Rodon, and you've got Burns and Peralta going. So, with you, there's just, and I can just bring that up because it's something that I don't want people to necessarily just think one way or the other, to think, oh, they are done, or to think they're really. It's kind of one of those. There's a lot of things on the table here. I tend to think it's hard to assess that. I'm just bringing up what's on the table. In general, I tend to rely on the numbers here, and I'm like you. I'm hoping that the number is so that we can back the Brewers, because the Giants obviously can pull the upset. Their offense can do it, but if Burns shows up and pitches like he can, the Brewers should have the advantage in this one.
I don't know that there's a number out there I'm going to be comfortable with taking the Giants. Like, it's even like, I mean, once it gets so high, it's like, I don't care, but I'm never going to be comfortable taking the Giants.
Like, you're going to do it, but you're not going to like it. Yeah. We talked about that. We just did our college football show, wrapping that up, and there's definitely plays like that where you're like, I'm going to do it, but I don't really love it.
Yeah.
All right, 6:45 Eastern, first pitch. Marlins at the Phillies. Phillies getting it done for us here tonight. Marlins losing by 1 again. That's what I talk about. The Marlins just seem to lose by 1. I mean, that's what I talked about, taking the run line with them. I mean,
it's
never
never
bad luck.
It's got to be so tough.
Yeah, they got 3 runs, which is about kind of where they seem to max out at 3 runs. They'll Sandy Alcantara here against Kyle Gibson in this one. I still think that Sandy's going to win the Cy Young. I still think his season-long stats, I think it would take an utter collapse for him not to, but you do have to be a little bit concerned. 2 of the last 3 starts, he's looked really terrible. 3 of the last 5, now he's given up at least 4 runs. In the back of my mind, I'm wondering, is it all these innings? That's been the biggest thing with him is he's thrown so many innings per start, which has made him so valuable, especially to a team that's had mediocre to subpar relievers. But are those innings taking a toll, or is it just random variability? He's obviously still really, really good, but you do kind of have to wonder now with bad starts starting to pile up here if he's 100% at this point.
Yeah, I tend to think he's starting to get tired a little bit. But I mean, who knows? We were talking about this in our Discord. Like, it was a wild game. I'm not making a play here because, man, Alcantara's got this thing going right now where it's every other game he's doing more and more or shutting a team out.
Yeah.
So this and that, if that pattern continues, he either shuts the Phillies out or gives up 1. Which with the Marlins offense, they can still lose when he gives up 1.
Absolutely.
So nothing here makes me comfortable enough to make a play. So I'm dodging this game. But man, I hope Alcantara. I hope the Marlins get it together so he can be on a team that makes the playoff run because I'd love to see him go.
Well, I mean, you never know what they're going to do in the offseason. They've already talked about trading some of their pitchers away, and it's like, I hope if they do, I hope it's not for prospect. I hope it's for offense, right? We talked about it from the very start of the season. This Phillies team had a chance to make the playoffs and be really good. They had the pitching, and relievers are easy to solve. If their relievers were doing this, they could have easily added one in June of the trade market early before the deadline, or in July as it got closer. It was the bats. We said it from early on. I remember talking in April, we talked about it, that the offense was the biggest question mark. Chisholm looked good, but even him being healthy, he was still the only guy really doing anything. And that was the thing, is they needed more than that. And that's the big question next year. So, I mean, if they trade from their pitching surplus, get Chisholm healthy, and bring on another bat or 2, maybe sign a guy, all of a sudden that could be a really fun team. But as it is, just continuing to struggle offensively, you never know with what Sandy's going to do. If he was pitching like he was before, I would have said Marlins run line makes a lot of sense. They keep losing by 1, but I am a little bit worried if he is fatigued and if he does give up multiple runs like he has every once in a while here lately. This might be one of the rare games the Phillies don't lose, or the Marlins don't lose by 1. I'm going to take the Phillies at -124. Model says it should be -137. So it's a B grade play. You can't ever feel super confident going up against a guy who, again, is almost assuredly going to win the Cy Young. But the Marlins can't score, and the Marlins relievers haven't been that good. The Phillies keep winning these games by a run, and I don't think that's really luck. I think that's mostly when the Marlins don't score a lot of runs, it's hard to win games. The Marlins relievers aren't that good. I mean, it doesn't really set up for success, for them. And so, again, you never really know what you're going to get here at this point from Sandy. If you feel more confident, like I said, I'd play Marlins run line. I'm not sure I'd want them to win. I'd want to bet them to win, but run line would be a solid look to see if they lose by 1 again. Obviously, they could pull it off, but at 124, I think there's advantage Phillies here. So I'm on them with a B grade play. Slight breeze blowing in at 5-ish miles an hour, upper 70s to start, low 70s to close. Model says total of 7.1. Actual total is 7. So the model says stay away from this total. Obviously, you never expect an over with the Marlins, but you just, again, I think a lot is if Sandy gives up 4 runs, this thing might go over. If he pitches dominant, then it's going to go under. So model says it's stay away. Total's too low. There is an under that I really like later, though, but this one wouldn't be it.
Yeah, it's got to be so much pressure on Sandy when you're out there. You feel like you've got to be perfect to come away with maybe a win. Yeah, I can imagine
all the pitchers really. It's just he's the best one of all of them, but they've all got to feel that, right?
Yeah. It's just like when you don't have an offense that's going to help out at all, like any of those Marlins guys. But when you're looking at a Cy Young, because that's what he's playing for now, right? Yeah. The Marlins aren't going to make the playoffs, so you're looking at that, and that's because he doesn't have one yet, right?
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah. So I mean, that's got to be. And I mean, they know they look at wins, so he's going to be wanting every win to just because it's hard to. I would imagine it's hard to get people to vote for you when you're on a team that's so far out of it.
Yeah, I think at least thankfully though, once Burns won, I think that at least set the stage for we don't look at wins anymore with pitchers. So I think thankfully we've at least crossed that threshold because Burns was more of the underlying metrics type thing, and so thankfully he's got that going for him. So as long as he stays healthy, he's got it. I don't even think he's pitching for the Cy Young at this point as much as I think he's pitching for like just setting career highs and just stats, just being like how many strikeouts can he, how many innings can I go, that sort of stuff, because the stats are pretty impressive what he's put up. He had a fantastic season.
They're incredible. He's been I've watched Marlins games just to watch him pitch.
Right. Absolutely.
Crazy.
Absolutely. He's definitely one of the most fun players to watch in baseball at this point. 7:05 Eastern first pitch, Twins at the Yankees, mid-70s to start, low 70s to close. Winds will be blowing in around 5 miles an hour. Sonny Gray versus Nestor Cortez is the projected matchup, not confirmed, thus there's no line out. Model says Yankees minus 114. I'm going to be on the Twins on this one again. I was on the Yankees for one of the games here on the doubleheader, so I split there. Yankees took both. I split. Yankees maybe starting to play a little bit better. So that's something to keep an eye on. You never really know. Again, as I've talked about, they were never as bad as their rough stretch here. They were never as good as that incredible stretch. They were always somewhere in between a very good baseball team, but still probably behind the Dodgers, who are just insanely good. Cortez, a good pitcher. Sonny Gray, a good pitcher. Both these guys I like. Gray has a 3.10 ERA. Underlying metrics say mid-threes. Cortez, 2.68 ERA, but underlying metrics also say mid-threes. So both these guys, very good pitchers, not great, but good. Both sets of relievers good. I give the Twins an advantage there. Offensively, though, as much as the Yankees offense may be coming along now here recently, both these offenses are kind of hot and cold. The Twins offense has been that way all season. They have stretches where they look unstoppable, and they have stretches where they look, they can't score, and they don't get a lot of attention being in Minnesota. But it's been kind of the same thing that the Yankees have done, right? Where it's just been the Yankees have clumped them together more so, but both these offenses can go hot or cold. Both of them are good, but neither one of them consistent, which has to scare you if you're a fan of either team going to the playoffs.
Yeah. No, that had to be absolutely terrifying to never know if your offense is going to be there or not.
Yeah, the Yankees so reliant on Judge, of course, and fantastic player and a likely MVP. Always great to have a guy like that in your back pocket, but if you're just relying on hitting home runs, when he does, it goes well, and he hits a lot of them. But when he doesn't, it doesn't seem to go as well for him. So, like I said, two good offenses, but you're hoping for more consistency from either one of those teams. But it should be a great baseball game. Two good starting pitchers, some good offenses. Again, model says Yankees should be a slight favorite. I'm almost certain I'll be on the Twins on this one. It'll just be a question of what the odds are. My hunch is it's going to be an A-grade play on the Twins run line. Total, this one, model says 7.4. So the run line play on the Twins didn't work out here in the nightcap on Wednesday. But if it is a low-scoring game, run line grabbing that 1.5 makes a lot of sense because you're more likely to see a 3-2 type ball game. So I think the Twins are not getting the respect they deserve. I think the Yankees are all of a sudden being priced like they are again in that top tier, and I'm not a believer yet. The model still ranks their offense still good, not great. So like I said, I'll probably be on the Twins here. Model says 114 for the Yankees and a total of 7.4. Jake, you have any thoughts for us on this one?
Not too much more than what you've already said. I'm probably dodging this game no matter what, just because I don't trust either offense to be there or not to be there. And the pitchers are good, but nothing super special. So, it's probably going to be one of the more entertaining games to watch.
Absolutely.
Judge could hit 10 home runs if he gets that many at bats at once.
Right.
Especially in New York. Who I forget what manager or somebody said it. So he's playing in a little league park up there, but which is kind of funny. But I've heard a lot of chatter about that. I don't want to derail us too much. Yeah, I guess there's fewer games so we can, but I've heard a lot of chatter about Judge playing in a small ballpark or whatever. I'm like, Yankee Stadium is not the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the league. It's not even in the top 10. Like, I don't understand where all this Judge plays in. Yes, it can be home. People want to hate on the Yankees for any possible reason.
Which
I'm one of them.
Fair. I must say fair, very fair. But at some point, just give credit to the guy. He's not playing in Cincinnati. He's not playing in Coors. He's not playing, in Arizona before they had the humidor when the ball really flew in there at, having a little altitude there in Phoenix. Yankee Stadium isn't the Trop, right? But it's kind of a middle of the road park with regards to park. Now it's a little home run friendly.
Yeah.
a little bit like, I think it's home run friendly, a little bit double unfriendly. And there are certain dimensions there that play more favorable to a home run, sure. But he also had a lot of games in April there where it was like 50 degrees and the ball wasn't flying. And he's going to get those games in September where it's 50 degrees and the ball doesn't fly. Like, overall, for the full season, Yankee Stadium plays pretty neutral. Like I said, barely home run friendly. Like, I don't understand this chatter whatsoever. Like, if in the summer, again, it's a little bit better, but it's not a run scoring environment. I don't remember in April we did so many Yankees unders because it was just cold up in the north and people didn't realize that like new ball not flying cold weather, like balls were going anywhere, and he had to play through that the whole month of April, and he still hit 50 whatever home runs now. I mean,
yeah, I think he's at 52 or something.
He's probably hitting them overnight, to be honest. Yeah. The guy just doesn't stop hitting them. But like you said, definitely an entertaining game for sure. Yeah. I totally understand the lack of trust in either offense, and I'm with you on the pitchers. Again, neither one of them so good. You're like, he's going to dominate, I can back him, but both of them can because both of them were good pitchers, but they're both facing good offenses. So it should be a really entertaining game. Like I said, I'll probably be on the Twins. Jake, sounds like you're probably passing on this one.
Yeah. I don't know that. I mean, the numbers have to be something special for me to get involved in this game, but right now I'm avoiding it.
All right, and then game 2 of that doubleheader, kind of already briefly mentioned it, Giants at the Brewers. This will be Freddie Peralta versus a true bullpen game for the Giants is what it sounds like. And again, the model thinks true bullpen games for the Giants not going to go well. Of course, Peralta a step down from Corbin Burns. Peralta more in that tier with Nestor Cortez and Sonny Gray. Good, can dominate, but not top tier type pitching. Peralta's 3.56 ERA on the season. Underlying metrics say that's about what he's done or where he should be. Again, a very good pitcher guy like. Cooling off a little bit in Milwaukee. We're going to start around 80 degrees, probably low 70s to finish off. Again, roof should be open for this one. Model says total of 8.9, expects a few more runs because, again, Peralta a step down from Burns, and then, again, things going worse for the Giants. It's always interesting with game 2s, if you want to wait until game 1 plays out, never a bad idea to see exactly, especially in this one. I think this one's even more important. I might make a pick earlier in the day because I'm making a pick on every game and I want to get it out of the way, but it's never a bad idea to wait, especially with the bullpen game situation. If the Giants, if Junis eats up innings and or the Giants get down early and they just say, we're going to throw all of our weaker relievers, not that their best relievers are great, but if they just throw it and the Brewers win 7-0, maybe the Giants have a better chance in game 2 saving up those guys. But if the Giants use up their good relievers in that first game, really don't like their chances in the second game. So it really just depends on which relievers are going. They don't have a lot of good ones anyway, but they do have some that they prefer. So you have to think that the manager at least thinks they're better. So again, depending on how that first game goes reliever-wise, kind of might affect how you think about this one. As it is, model says Brewers minus 175, again, total around 9. I kind of think the same thing about the first one, like we talked about. Like I'm hoping for a minus 170 on the Brewers, minus 160 would be great. I'm hoping for a corresponding run line in that ballpark, around even money would be great. Who knows if we'll see it, but that would be the hope. And I kind of think like the first game, there's a buy point on the Giants. If it gets into the 200s, you probably have to play it just because the odds are so high. But obviously, it'd be much more fun to find a favorable price on the Brewers than the Giants.
Yeah, a lot more comfortable there. And I mean, the Brewers manager is going to. This is stupid, but he's going to go for the win and whenever he can. So if they're in that first game. He can throw. If it's close, he's going to throw his top end relievers. He's not.
That also, yeah, absolutely.
So you could end up with possibly weekend pitching on both sides in those late innings. So that over under number could be something to watch there, depending on what the first game does. But
absolutely, it's a great point. I mentioned about the Giants, but it's a great point. The Brewers relievers, they got a couple guys at the back end that are solid, but they're also pretty thin. It's a great point. If Burns is done after 7 and it's a 1-run game. I don't know how you feel about Trevor Rogers, but they're for sure going to Devin Williams and going to use him. And some guys can bounce back and pitch both games of a doubleheader, but most don't. Most, if they pitch in a game, they're done for the next one. And so depending on who gets used for them, same sort of scenario, right? So absolutely, depending on how the relievers go for both teams could really change how you feel about the second game. If they're all saved, then maybe, you you don't really, you like the under there, but if all those good relievers get used up, maybe you think that the second one becomes a run scoring fest, right?
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going with that. Now, so I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but with that, but I'm probably going to be pretty heavy on the Brewers when those lines come out if they're somewhat reasonable.
As long as they're not crazy, yeah. And just as a clarification, because people sometimes talk about this, as a reminder, we're talking about that every team is a buy point, and if you disagree with that, then talk to me off show, and I would like to take the Giants at plus 10,000 and you take the Brewers at minus 10,000, and I think that kind of proves my point. It's obviously a stupid example. Yeah, nobody would do that, but that's the point. There's a number. Now, the number may be really high, but I think we all can agree there is a number. And I think people who are just like, oh, we're just taking the Brewers. I'm like, but at what number? Because, like, minus 200? Okay. I think a little high. I don't really like that, but, like, it's not – I can respect that, you know? Yeah. Minus 250, like, whoa, minus 300, like, okay, you're crazy. Like, you shouldn't lay minus 300 with the Brewers, right? And thankfully the number won't be there, so we won't have to deal with that. But always have to think about what the buy point would be for teams here. Again, I'm like, if the Giants are like plus 200, like I said, it's at some point there's value, whether your number's 200 or 220 or whatever. But I'm like, I'm hoping to run the Brewers. Should be a much more fun side to be on. If there's value, even small value, it's worth it to be on the Brewers and that's smart rather than the Giants in these games, because the bullpen games just aren't going to go well for this Giants team. The relievers are just terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary, and I'm surprised honestly that there are bullpen games right here, because if you're to the Giants, if you got a young starter somewhere, why not give them a shot? Like, all right, let's see what you got. Like, I'm very surprised.
Yeah, the bullpen game worked so well for him last year, and this year it's just not gone well. Closing us off here, one game out on the West Coast, 9:40 Eastern start time, 6:40 local if you're in the area. White Sox at the A's. Still kind of warm out in California. Cooling off, obviously, at night. Low 80s to start, which is relatively warm for Oakland. Low 70s to finish. Winds will be blowing out. It's kind of dying down as the night goes on, like we usually see in Oakland. Obviously, the White Sox have a better offense than the A's. White Sox facing a lefty in J.P. Sears gives their offense a little bit of a boost, as their offense is nothing but right-handed hitters. I think in one switch hitter guy. I mean, it's all righties, it seems like, which is why they project better against lefties, and they've typically done better against lefties here recently. Obviously, the relievers are better than the A's. The A's relievers every once in a while look good, and then every once in a while look like they do here on this Wednesday, where they're up 2-0 on the Braves, and the relievers come in, and the Braves win 150-2. Dylan Cease for the White Sox, obviously having a fantastic year. Top 5 in the Cy Young voting, most likely. 2.13 ERA on the season. Now, I do caution he's not that good. That's not really breaking news. I mean, not many pitchers are 2.13 ERA good. That's like basically Jacob deGrom, and that's it. Underlying metrics for him say his ERA should be in the low 3s, which is still very, very good. Model says, though, he's in that 3rd tier, not the 2nd tier. Again, Jacob deGrom, tier 1 by himself. Really, really good pitcher. He's been overpriced for most of the season, and so the fact that he's not overpriced here in this one is why I'm on the White Sox. I'm giving it a B-grade pick at White Sox minus 181. Model says minus 183. And again, this is about me reading the model and saying that Cease has often been overpriced, so any situation where he's not, I want to go a little bit heavier on it than usual, because we've often faded him. It's worked sometimes. It hasn't worked other times, but I think this is a good spot to back him. It's a good spot to back the White Sox facing a lefty. It's a road game, but it's a road game not in front of any fans, and it's a road game where they're traveling from just down the road in Seattle. So that helps too, because you're not traveling across time zones. And again, as much as I like J.P. Sears, I've touted him before. I picked him to beat the Mariners back a couple of weeks ago and hit that one. He does have that 2.37 ERA, but again, that's deflated by pitching at this point. Now, almost half of his innings in Oakland, his underlying metrics say his ERA should be around 4. I like the kid. I think he's got potential, but I think he's more just an average pitcher, which if you're a Yankees fan, you may be saying you need an average guy to eat some innings right now, but I think he's just a league average pitcher. A league average lefty is prime candidate for the White Sox to put up a few runs. Dylan Cease only needs a few runs. Money line, run line, I think it's probably pretty coin tossy. I think taking the White Sox on the money line makes sense if you think it's going to be a really low-scoring game because it's harder to win by more than one. Model projects 6.6. I like the under in this one as well. The actual total is 7. I like going under 7. I don't like going under 6.5, but having that push protection. I like the under 7. I'm on the White Sox money line here because if you're playing the White Sox and the under, the money line probably makes more sense because then if it's 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, even 4-3, you win one, push one. But I think run line is also a reasonable play with the White Sox being the road team and the A's. For sure, having to get through 9 innings. Sears isn't a guy you think is going to go extremely deep, and those relievers can give up some runs. So if you want to play run line, I think that makes a lot of sense as well. Jake, what do you got for us on this one?
Yeah, I'm taking the White Sox run line. I'm hoping this one is a little too late of a start for La Russa to get in there and screw things up. Hopefully he's sleeping, and so the real manager can make the right moves, and he doesn't, I don't know, walk somebody in a 0-2 count or something. Yeah. So hopefully that's done. I mean, the lefty, I like this White Sox team. Cease, the last time he pitched against the A's, which the last time I think the White Sox pitched them, they won 4-1. So the under and the run line kind of go together. Just saw the A's give up their 2-0 lead to the Braves. I mean, it's rare that you see that 10-9 score, especially out there in Oakland.
Yeah, that was so bonkers.
So I think this will be on the lower end of things, and I think it's going to be like that 4-1, 4-2, where Cease dominates the game, goes 7, and really handles his business. And we get a little extra money in there by taking the run line, a little more risk, especially in a lower scoring environment. But I'm taking that risk.
Yeah, and we always talk about that. It's kind of a lot of personal preference on these two, right? You do have a little bit more risk on the run line with regards to the probability that you win, but you have a little bit more risk on the money line with regards to if they lose, and you've given up so much more by playing those big minus odds. So it's just personal preference. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's just an easy play, right? It's kind of a whichever one you want here. I think both of these make a lot of sense. I think La Russa will still be out. I don't think he's going to join them back on the road. So I don't think the start time really matters. They're saying he might be back this season. I don't want to pile on a guy. Obviously we hope he's healthy. That's what we always hope for all managers, players, everybody, physically, mentally, everything. We always hope for health, right? But the decision we talked about it before. The decisions he's made have been questionable. He's been the pitchers have not liked him whatsoever. You could see when he pulls them, a lot of times they're frustrated because they think they should be getting one more bat or whatever, and there's a lot of them they won't even look at him. They'll just hand him. I've seen him many a time. He's pulled a starter and the starter won't even look at him. They just and so it's gone really well for the White Sox with him not there, and that's not surprising because he's just struggled so much making good baseball decisions. So the White Sox are a team now, taking 2 or 3 from the Mariners on the road. You have to think maybe they're getting it going and starting to look like the team that we thought they might be all season, which is potentially competing for that division title.
Yeah, I just hope it's not too little too late.
If you're a White Sox fan, that's your fear, right?
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way he keeps his job next year, right? Like,
I mean, I didn't think Scott Frost would keep his job in Nebraska, not to cross streams of sports, but you never know with what teams do, what GMs do, what owners do with regards to contracts. I don't know. The number of questionable decisions we've seen made on these things that seem like no-brainers to us don't always go that way. So I don't know. I would hope not. I would think that they would say, like, we got to get someone in here who the players want to play for and who understands – La Russa used to be a good manager. Would he have made some of these decisions 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever? I would have to think not, but some of it's like the game passing him by, but some of it's also just like, would he have really done some of this stuff 20 years ago? Or is he just an old man who's lost his mind at this point? We're all going to get old and lose our minds if we we're going to lose our minds if we get old enough to, right? And I just think that's kind of where he's at. Like, he used to be fantastic, and he's just not there anymore.
Yeah. I think he's holding on to things that he really shouldn't be holding on to, and not letting, like, it's like he still thinks he's smarter than the game kind of deal, like he was back then, and he hasn't really adjusted with times and got that old man get off my lawn. I know better attitude. And
hey, it's always a reminder. You always want to keep learning right?
Yes.
No matter how old you are, you always want to keep learning. You always want to surround yourself. You never want to be the smartest person in the room, right? You always want to surround yourself with smart people so that you can learn. If you're the smartest person in the room, go find new friends because you're not learning anything, right? So that's just a good life lesson for all of us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Any other parting words other than, again, check Twitter and the sheet will update all the picks for games that don't have lines yet. Other than that, any parting words, Jake?
Yeah, just jump on the Patreon. Don't be shy. Chat in there. Jump in there with us.
Yeah. We're talking about a lot of fun sports things and lines, everything. Ask questions, add your comments. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. A reminder to check out the Google Sheet for model picks, projections, and results. You can find that link and more at the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button to ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped right into your feed. See you tomorrow with more MLB content. You also got now 3 episodes of college football content up to catch. As always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.